Every week on the BPA King of Bowling, we have a high woman qualifier, appropriately called the Queen, and you're looking at this week's Queen, Diane Cushman. A nice little mix and a strike for Diane. Diane, congratulations on this week being Queen. Now, Diane is no stranger to bowling. She was on the LPBA tour and a winner on that tour. So how far do you think women's bowling has come? How far can it go?
It can go big. They've got to stick with it. The men were there first. They've got the big sponsors, but the women are plugging away, so they're going to make it.
Now, next week we may have a first here. We have a high woman qualifier right here. Do you think it's catching on more locally than it is nationally?
I don't know. Cincinnati's a great bowling town. It always has been. The girls work hard. The guys work hard. They can go big.
Diane, for working hard, we have a check for $200. Hey, come back and see us later on this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll tell you, Tom, you must really enjoy your work down there. You're smiling so much.
She's a delightful lady, a delightful lady. Cincinnati can be very proud of her. Oh, boy, we have a great match here. A man I've been looking forward to watching this year, Greg Lothian, against, oh, man, Greg Carpenter. What a game, 268 to 192 over Danny Moses in the first game. This is week 6. We are at the Penthouse Lanes, St. Bernard. The winner of the Lothian Carpenter match has the, I guess, unenviable task of meeting Mr. Ray Tucky Perez, whose last game was a 275 here last week. Greg Lothian up first. We could see a real shootout today.
Yes, indeed.
Well, that's the same kind of a ball he showed down in the U.S. Open in Venice, Florida here a couple of weeks ago. He's a graduate of the YAB leagues. That youth will be served, I'll tell you.
Oh, 21 years old on both sides of the lanes today.
I tell you what, let's set this match up. What do we have here? We have got probably 2 of the strongest, youngest bowlers in the Midwest, not just Cincinnati, all around. Greg Carpenter, slower, methodical, exact, just twirls it up, lets it go. A little less aggressive at the foul line.
Same results.
Same results. Greg Carpenter, firmer, a little more speed, or not a little more, a lot more speed on the ball. Same amount of revolutions, same results. Greg Carpenter right here, you can see it. Maximum revolutions, flush into the pocket, 1-3. Nothing is going to stand on that.
Well, so far, David, for the Dom, we're averaging 211 so far on the tube, which is super.
That's not too dusty. If you watch Greg Lothian when Greg Carpenter is up at the line, he does not, like the Pete Weber style, does not even bother to look. He could pretty much tell by the reaction of the crowd what Greg Carpenter will do. He knows what he has to do, and as Dave Newrather said, you compete against yourself. You don't compete against anyone else. The 10 had ideas.
That 10-pin, again, it was a super shot. It could have went, but the amount of arc that he had on the ball caused the 10. Let's see if we can pick it up here on the replay, Tom. The ball does arc out a little bit. Now watch. The 3-pin goes straight back. Take the 6-pin around, and the belly hits the belly, but it don't fall.
Kind of like sumo wrestling, wouldn't you say?
Right, belly.
Belly versus belly. And unlike the first match, Carpenter takes out that 10 without putting it in the channel. You like that one about sumo wrestling?
It's tough working with an intercontinental sort of guy like you, Tom.
Interesting we should mention sumo wrestling because today on Channel 5 on NBC Sports World, we will have a look at sumo wrestling.
No kidding.
At 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock today. But right now we're watching Greg Lothian.
He's going to wrestle these pins right now.
An angular bowler.
That's right.
Power where it counts.
Out Hamilton way, they're going to close the ladies to the entries this coming Friday, March the 8th.
Let's take a look at it. Right there. Bottom of the swing, grunting through the shot. Look at this ball. I mean, you can't say anything. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Let the pins do the talking.
They're doing the talking all right.
Very encouraging to see guys like Lothian and Carpenter so young. It's an inspiration to the real young bowlers. Do you remember when you were 5 and 6, Dave?
No.
Sam?
No, we didn't have television.
We didn't have. Well, now see the advantages that these kids have. They could watch bowling like this on Channel 5. Oh, some pin didn't do its work.
Again, the strength that we're talking about with Greg was his undoing that time. A little hard, a little more direct, and the 6-pin just didn't come out and get it.
Well, Greg Lothian's got 29 with a strike up, and he gets a spare. They have 49 in the second, and Greg Carpenter's got 20 in a spare, so they got to start throwing more X's.
Uh-oh. Boy. Carpenter was up at a crack like that when he saw that go in the channel.
I wonder if Mr. Lothian was watching the first game.
I think maybe so. Interesting. 3 gutter balls on 10 pins.
Out in Fairfield, in the Mercy Hospital, we have Randy Heimer and Chris Woods, and they're coming along very good, David and Tom.
Was involved in a very serious accident earlier in the week, and Chris Woods, super bowler. Wish him a lot of luck. Hope he gets well soon.
We all echo those sentiments. We're watching a split screen here. Third frame, Greg Carpenter, a strike, working off a spare.
It's in the area. Up and around the 6-pin. If we can get that one, this should be an interesting shot. The 6-pin there just jumps into the gutter, and then the neck swings up and around the 10-pin. Let's take a look at it right here. Watch the 6-pin. Again, second one from the right-hand part of your screen. The belly goes into the channel. The head pin just kind of, see it? Go up and around.
Up and around, and no can do.
That's a 1 in a million shot there.
So, let us hope Carpenter did not watch Lothian try to pick up the 10 in the last frame. Or maybe he did. No, he keeps it up on the lane.
A good bowler should only miss one, Tom. You know, you can understand missing the first one because they just weren't aware of what's on the lane. The second one should not happen.
Greg Carpenter, it did not happen.
Well, Nancy Sega's our league coordinator here. She'll be going to U.S. Open Topeka, Kansas, pretty in April. They'll also have the Scotch doubles here, 9th and 10th, and they have their softball tournament on 23rd and 24th.
Topeka?
At Topeka, Kansas. That's right, David.
Where is that?
A few miles west of St. Louis.
Is that where Annie M. lives?
I believe you're right.
Chalk it up.
You know, Carpenter also mentioned to me before he enjoys playing golf, I would hate to see him with a driver in his hand.
Let's take a look at it here. The form, the footwork, the execution at the line. He is solid. For a big man, he is incredibly solid at the foul line. So thank you.
Very graceful.
We have Tom Murphy, our president. We also have Tom Gray from the Xantheville lanes is here, too.
The long O.
Long O.
Low Xantheville.
Oh.
Lothian.
That's right, Lothian.
A big X in the fourth for Greg Lothian.
Well, we talked about it in weeks past, Tom. You have an open frame, just a critical error. What are you going to do? You just forget about it. You forget about it and come out striking. Greg Lothian has done that. He is not competing against Greg Carpenter. However, we have a match that is going to be down to the wire. You can bet your skins on it.
Lothian wears that glove on his right hand. He says it covers his calluses. It gives for a better feel. Do most bowlers concur when they have calluses? They get a better feel with the glove in their hand?
It's personal preference again, Tom. You just do whatever feels good for you. In my case, I wore some tape to give me a good feel. This ball right here, 6-pin, again, is the critical pin, going to the gutter and dying, making a feeble attempt to crawl out.
Feeble at best. Lothian looking for the 10 spare. And there it is.
Like I said, they won't miss more than one.
So we're halfway through game 2. Greg Lothian against Greg Carpenter, the winner, heading on to meet the king, Ray Tucky Perez, here in week 6 of the BPA King of Bowling, right here on Channel 5. Rath and Sam Coleman. Greg Carpenter gets ready to roll it down. Bottom of the 5th, working on a strike. We have quite a match. 2 young bowlers, 21 years old. They do the Queen City proud.
2 pins, the difference between the 2 bowlers right now. Greg Carpenter having the 2-pin advantage, and a strike up could increase it to 12.
Carpenter's concentration. 10-pin is
Let me
talking.
Well, let me
Greg
tell you
Carpenter.
what may be going on right now, Tom. And in a lot of instances, we found that this is the case. On the replay, we can see it here. Again, I'm getting tired of talking about the 6-pin, but that's the guy that's supposed to take out the 10. Second part, pin from the end of your screen. There you see it. They're just kind of going to sleep in the channel. A lot of times, as bowling proceeds through the evening or through a match, the oil or lane dressing, whatever word you'd like to use, is on the ball surface as it's going through the oil in the front part of the lane, and then is laid down on the back end of the lane. And then the more balls that are thrown, the more oil gets down the lane, and then we come up with a little bit of a deflection problem. So what the boys have to do is just figure a different angle and utilize that little bit of oil that's been carried down as a holding sort of action, and then let the ball drive through. They're just not picking up on it yet. That's where the experience comes in.
And that's what they have to look ahead to. 21 years old, they will pick up little things.
Exactly. They're good now. They're going to be great later.
6th frame, Greg Lothian.
Oh, no. Oh, this hurts.
Mama.
This really hurts.
Ugh.
Let's take a look at it here on the slow-mo. Keep your eyes on the ball traveling through the pins. Now, the head pin goes to the left. The 5-pin goes straight back. You see it right there? And then the ball just misses the 8. Bad shot.
And there it stands on the left lane.
Bad break for Greg Carpenter. He threw an excellent shot.
No, our score marker is Greg Hanley from out Hamilton way. He's been up pretty close in the qualifier every week.
Tim Sharp must have relinquished that priority to come up and keep score for us. He was in the 5th position for $100. Rick Pollard again, Tim Sharp again, Kim Harriman, and on and on and on.
And this is Greg Lothian looking down the lane, 6th frame. Portrait of consistency.
The boy doesn't strike, he mangles it.
Is that what it is?
Oh, I bowled a couple of sets with Greg last year in the Hoinky Classic, and I tell you what, the pins just love to see me coming. I just knocked them down. On the replay, you can see it. This man mangles them. Head pin jumps up onto the wall and comes off with a couple karate kicks.
It's interesting to note that he gets so much power generated on such a slender frame.
Well, he's been over the war. I'll tell you, he's been to the battle lines.
Nice form. Very nice. Whoa.
Absolutely awesome. I'm glad everybody at home gets to see this. I'm in the lanes a lot, and I get to watch, and I enjoy it. The people at home are right now experiencing probably the most exciting match that I could draw up on paper. Greg Carpenter, the city's high series total holder, against Greg Lothian, one of the strong, animalistic type of bowlers in the greater Cincinnati area. This is it.
Carpenter needs a few X's here. Working off a spare. This is the 7th frame.
Oh boy, again the 10-pin.
Well, they're swinging it just a little bit, and it's coming late, that's all.
Exactly. Well, that time, too, did you pick it up, Sam? He threw the ball a little harder to try to cut down on the hook a little bit to avoid that area, Tom. But again, the game is so complicated at this level. It's simple because anybody can do it, but it's very difficult to do it exceptionally well. And they're both doing a great job. However, the Greg Lothian has this match right where he wants it.
Speaking of doing it exceptionally well, our king, the past 3 weeks, Tucky Perez has done it exceptionally well. Sam, see the scoreboard now. Know what Carpenter has to do.
That's right. Greg's on his 97 in the double, and it can be very interesting here.
Greg
can
Lothian,
take off.
20 pins in the lead at this point. Greg Carpenter could eat into that with a strike right here.
Greg's dad passed away at the end of last year, and he says if he becomes king this week, he's dedicating it to his dad. Very noble of him. And I'll tell you what, if it's not this week, I have a feeling we're going to see him on top of the heap one of these weeks.
Pretty safe bet. You're a real gambler,
I'll
aren't
tell
you?
you, I really put the old neck on the chopping block. Well, that was one of the strikes he needed.
The deficit now 10 pins. Greg Lothian, should he strike out, the match is over. If he stops anywhere along the lane, the way to take a rest, Mr. Carpenter could sneak up behind him.
Lothian also with an open frame in the third, so you could tell what he's done. 3 strikes and a spare since that time. We're in the 8th frame. See Tucky Perez sitting behind along with our... Oh, yeah.
Oh, jeez. Let's take a look at the form on this. We've seen so many crushers, it doesn't make any difference with the pins. But look, heel toe. Great power position at the foul line. Gets through the ball, perfect arm swing. Does he like it? It's so good, he's not even excited. Just another routine, back-breaking strike, Tom.
If he had a dime for every one of those he threw, he wouldn't need the $750 king check. Although they roll for the honor, Dave. You told me that. They don't need the money.
They do. I mean, the money's nice. It's exceptionally nice. However...
Finally, the pins do their work.
That was a man in motion play there.
Let's take a look at it. We call it the scout. Well, this scout just happens to be the head pin. Center your screen. Follow it. It goes to the wall, comes off the wall, comes across, and says, "Get out of here." Make my day.
And it did.
Oh, incredibly strong shot.
Greg Carpenter's going to have a shot. He's got to go out for 227.
Greg Carpenter is backed up against the wall. If he throws them all, Greg Lothian's going to have to open in the 10th frame to let him go by. But he needs them all.
And that time he got it to do its work. 6-pin came off.
6-pin came off. Went with a little different line going down there, and you can see by the scoreboard that he's got his work cut out for him, Sam.
He certainly does. Lothian's got 157 and 7 with 2 up, and Greg Carpenter's got 137 with 2 strikes in a row. Goes out for 227, so you'll have Greg Lothian needing a mark.
Speaking of work being cut out for you, did you happen to see the Light Beer Classic yesterday in the PBA? Ernie Schlegel against Pete Weber. Weber finishing with 6 straight strikes, including that one in the 9th frame where the head pin went over and above its job, kicking off the wall, coming back to knock out the 8. But we have quite a match here as Carpenter with his 3rd straight strike, needing 2 more.
Needs them all. It's tough. See, right now, if you were playing your opponent, you'd have a tendency to give up because the caliber of bowler that Greg Lothian is, chances are he's not going to open, but for no other reason other than the fact you want to show yourself you can do it, you want to throw 3 in the 10th here, and then if your opponent happens to open, you happen to be in the right place.
Take a look at it now.
Critical shot. Let's watch the ball and his reaction.
So anything less than a strike, you know what his reaction will be. Oh,
unbelievable.
There's the reaction.
Disappointment, to say the least.
Well, he sure hit the pocket this game, I'll say that.
Let's take a look at it. Slow-mo on the pins, and Greg, he's going to go up there and knock it down. Really doesn't mean anything, but the ball going through. Not quite picking up the proper roll. Greg Lothian is our winner of this match.
216 is not too bad, but that ain't going to beat Greg Lothian. Greg can go out for 247.
Especially after that 268 that Carpenter rolled against Danny Moses in the first game. So it'll be Greg Lothian, who you're seeing right now. And speaking of having his work cut out for him, he will be meeting Ray Tucky Perez, our king, for 3 straight weeks. No signs of faltering, although I noticed Tucky in between games today, pacing like an expectant father, waiting to get in the ball game. The goose gossips here. Lothian doesn't quit. Whoa. And he's excited. He said, bring on Tucky.
Where's
I want
he at?
him now.
Where's he at?
I want him now.
Really?
Let's take a look at him. He gets into it. His whole face tells you he gets into it. It's a perfect shot. 10 in the pit. And then what's he do? He says, bring him on.
Well, down the U.S. Open, there was 240 bowlers, and Greg Lothian finished a famous 26th. Just few pins out of the finals.
Bang, bang, bang. All those X's up there from 6th frame on.
You know, you were mentioning giving the check to Diane Cushman before. Second place in the women's division, Catherine Tidwell. Marietta Williams, Diane Cushman again, Regina Pollard, Nancy Sieg, and on and on. The women's division's exciting to watch, too. Let's get some more of you out here.
Oh, finishes big with 6 straight strikes. So Greg Lothian takes out Greg Carpenter here in game 2. It'll be Lothian against the King, Ray Tucky Perez, in week 6 of the BPA King of Bowling right here on Channel 5.